Yeah, okay.
Jeff, are you doing roll? Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 8th regular City Council meeting. And with that, Jeff Albrecht, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Delera,
Here.
Councilmember Fajarin,
Here.
Councilmember Gaither, Councilmember Guido, Councilmember Parks,
Here.
Councilmember Weller,
Present.
Councilmember Wright.
So Councilmember Wright and Gaither both requested to be excused tonight. I'd entertain a motion for them to be excused.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So for announcements tonight, first of all, I want to thank, and we have a number from Pullman Chamber that's here in the room, but really thank Pullman Chamber and all the volunteers that put off a great 4th of July celebration this last week. Excuse me. You really did show our community off in a great way, and I appreciate that. And also for Glenn Johnson, who continues for decades now to have chaired that committee, and really I thank him also for his continuous service. The second item we have is we've received a letter of resignation from Tremaine Gaither, where he indicates with deep mix of gratitude and nostalgia, I respectfully submit my resignation from Pullman City Council effective July 15th, 2025. Serving Ward 1 has been one of the greatest honors of my life. I'm proud of the listening sessions we created, the partnerships we forged, and the mindful approach we brought to policymaking. Those successes belong to all of us, and they will remain a bright chapter in my heart. My decision to step down is rooted in family. We're relocating outside the region so our youngest son can access specialized services. While we're excited for this next step, leaving Pullman is bittersweet. The friendships, mentoring relationships, and small-town compassion we've experienced here are irreplaceable. Pullman has shaped who we are, and we will forever carry that Pullman proud spirit where we go. I definitely appreciate the time that Tremaine served for the last year and a half. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here tonight, but we will at the next council meeting have a discussion item around the process of filling his seat. Continuing on with announcements for Pine Street Pedestrian Bridge, the contract for Phase 2 of the Pine Street Pedestrian Bridge project went to bid last week, and Wasson Carey Construction of Moscow, Idaho will be doing the work to move the bridge back into place. Details and timelines for Phase 2 and 3 of the bridge repair will be coming soon. The City of Pullman has issued the 2024 Consumer Confidence Report on drinking water quality for residents of Pullman. In order to access the report, you can go to pullman-was/water report or call 509-338-3243 to receive a copy. The City of Pullman is also transitioning to an all-new utility billing access portal in the fall of 2025. The new portal will give you more options to pay your bills, access your account information, and request service adjustments. You can visit pullman-wa.gov/utility to learn more about the update. Moving on to entertainment, the 2025 Concerts in the Park season begin this week. Come to Rainey Park on Wednesdays from 6 to 8 for live music, lots of fun. This week's band is the Community Band of Palouse and Aufgat's German Band, and next week's band is Paradox. And in addition to that, the 2025 Movies in the Park season also begins this week. Come to Rainey Park at dusk for the next 4 nights for a family-friendly movie. This week's movie is Kung Fu Panda, and next week's will be Despicable Me. On to aquatics. Rainy Park Pool will be closed on Friday, July 11th for a swim meet, but the Pullman Aquatic Center will be open and available from 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. if you'd like to swim. On to the library. To get ready for an explosive, fun, and hands-on science with Professor Fickelstein's Mad Science Lab at Neal Public Library on Saturday, July 12th. Performances for youth of all ages are at 10:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. And also at the library next week, the League of Women Voters will be holding City Council candidate forums. This is for the races that have a primary. And for Ward 1 forum will be Tuesday, July 15th at 5:30 p.m. and Ward 2 forum will be Wednesday, July 16th at 5:30 p.m. To see a listing of other community events, visit the city's tourism page at visit-pullman.com/events. The next item is for non-agenda item related to community comments. This agenda item is the first of two opportunities during this meeting for the public to bring comments to the attention of elected officials. Specifically, this item is reserved for public comments, concerns, or other information not related to previous public hearings or final actions on this agenda. Final action items include confirmation appointments, consent agenda, and regular agenda items. This agenda item for consent is not to exceed 30 minutes in total. Comments will be directed to the mayor or the city council as a body. No comment should be directed to an individual council member. And per our CW 4217A555, it doesn't allow for community comments to be used to support a political campaign. With that, is there anyone who would like to provide community comments? This would be the right time. Yes. And we'll have 2 minutes for each for the community comments for each.
Good morning, good evening, Council. Thank you for taking my comments. Okay, I'm Bobby Ryder with Downtown Pullman Association, and what I'd like to highlight are some of the things that our committees have been doing. On outreach, we continue to work on the business occupation tax program and opportunity. We've mailed out 243 mailers to WSU graduates, thanks to working with Cougs First, who worked with me to get the word out about the B&O tax credit opportunity. So we pretty much hit the Cougar Nation as best we could. On design, we have a beautiful buildings campaign that you've heard about. DPA has funded 3 micro grants for buildings, for building improvements. The Modern Plantsman is one, Flower Power Bakery is the other. These are $500 grants. And the most dramatic is the Recovery Center awning and building repairs. Under promotion, we participated in the Pride Window Decorating Contest. The winner of the design contest was Sugar Bakery as first, then Greystone Gallery, and then Lily Bees. There were 11 participant windows and 44 votes. The Lentil Festival Friday Night Vibes planning is underway with more to come, but assured there will be vibes. The new DPA board member, Garth Mader, has agreed to chair the Economic Vitality Committee, so there should be some great ideas coming forward. We will be working on, our ideas will be informed by our numbers from our data sets, by commercial market rates, driven by community desire for things to change, and by asking what new businesses will succeed in this downtown. And finally, the farmers market, first one launched on July 5th, last Saturday, with 300 visitors. Not a bad start. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Would anybody else like to provide community comments?
Thank you. I'm Kathy Wilson. I'm the broker owner of DRA Real Estate here in town, and I've been in business in the city of Pullman for 40+ years. I'm here representing several hundred owners of rental properties in the Pullman area regarding rental registration forms, which I have filled out and filed for the last 10+ years. I spoke with Mayor Benjamin recently, and he told me that the city council could not make any changes, that he were the one that would do that. I met with him a year ago regarding this issue, and he never got back to me. When I spoke last week, I was assured that they were looking into it and he would get back to me as time is of the essence. As I told him, I was still in need of help in getting the applications accepted. They still at this point have not been accepted. They've been rejected 3 times. My owners have received tickets for failure to register, the very same forms that I've filled out for the last 10+ years. And the Landlord-Tenant Act provides that an owner, agent, manager, police department, whoever it is, cannot trespass on the tenant's property without giving proper notice unless there's an emergency or abandonment. But failure to give proper notice doesn't consist of just going on. This has been happening on my rental properties, that code enforcement has been on the properties and taking pictures behind fences. In my opinion, that's trespassing. The Landlord-Tenant Act also says that I as a manager, owner, okay, thank you, John.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else like to provide public comment?
My name is Jonathan Wilson. I'm an associate broker and assistant manager for DRA Real Estate. Our office has been filling out and submitting the rental registration forms since the city started requiring this, I believe in 2010. This year we submitted the forms 3 times and they have been rejected all 3 times. And to date, they still have not been accepted, while the whole time the owners are receiving tickets for failure to register. We went to court, which is part of our obligation with our owners to remove the tickets. The judge said we needed to take this to city council. This is why we are here. It specifically says on the state code that the owner or designated property manager is who is responsible. Then under the city form they have created, owner information is required, but not under the state RCW. It clearly states owner or property manager. In the state of Washington, to manage rental properties for other owners, we must be licensed real estate brokers, which we are. In the past 12 months, we have had 3 deaths, 1 from a fire, 1 from suicide, and 1 from homicide, where neither the owner nor DRA Real Estate were ever notified of these serious outcomes. Again, I believe this is a form of harassment to our owners and DRA Real Estate, which needs to stop immediately. Definitely the system is not working, and it seems they are collecting information to feed into a database, not to actually use it as a tool to help the city, owner, or property manager. Most all of our owners do not live locally. If they're sent a letter or a ticket, it takes months sometimes for them to receive it, and many of them are retired and travel and aren't home to collect them. This is why they hire a professional property management company. The form requires numbers to reach. On our form, 4 numbers are listed. Either myself or Kathy can read.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment? Please come to the mic.
Hello, John Castleman. Wanted to just give a shout out to the farmers market, the rebirth of it that we had last Saturday downtown, and share on behalf of the organizers that they're looking for local farm goods. Applications can be found on the DPA website. Look under events, and that there will be no fee for July. So it sounds like, I think it was just, I went to it, there was maybe 4, 5, 6 vendors. But it sounds like there were more waiting in the wings. A lot of folks turned out, and it was a lot of fun. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to provide public comment? Seeing none, next up is City Council member comments, and I'll start with Councilmember Parks.
Thank you. Mr. Castleman stole a little of my thunder. That's okay. I just wanted to also commend the DPA for the farmers market, and I do think it's important that the public know that this is a collaboration with the Moscow farmers market. So they basically Bobby Ryder approached the head of that organization, and that person said they received too many more applicants than they can house, than they can accommodate for their Saturday market. And so the two of them came up with a plan that she would send her overflow to us. So we do have a feeder system in place, and I'm very happy about that, because I think both communities can sustain a farmer's market, and even regionally, as Bobby mentioned at the chamber lunch today. Secondly, I just going to take a point of personal privilege here and mention that I will very much miss Mike Urban in our city administration, and I think he did a lot of good work and accomplished things and had always a really good relationship with the council. And it's just my opportunity to say that he will be missed, and he was very much appreciated. Thank you.
Councilmember Guido.
Thank you. I don't know if this belongs here or if it's more of a request for a council item in the future. And this is some of the benefit of working downtown now in my new role as the director of the Recovery Center. The amount of time for parking, 2 hours, I am personally affected. And it's funny how that always works, that you get an appreciation of that. But I really think that this is an opportunity, along with the changes with downtown, to look at expanding that time frame for parking from 2 hours to 3 hours. And for a number of reasons. It's come to my attention that there are quite a few people who work downtown who did not get in on the permitting process, and these are folks that are making probably minimum wage, and on top of their job duties have to set an alarm to move their cars every 2 hours. And I can appreciate that that's a tough thing to do when you're working in customer service, for instance, and a ticket is the last thing you want when you're not making a ton of money. So there's that, and then there's just, from a service-oriented standpoint, someone who's getting their hair done, and maybe it's going to take 2.5 hours. That can be a tough thing to do in the middle of when you're in the hair bowl, so to speak. So I think we need to look at that. It seems like a fairly easy thing to do, and is consistent with Moscow as well. So there's that. And then I would like to voice my concern about the property registration, the rental registration that Kathy Wilson and her teammate are bringing forth today. Heard that from a number of different people, and it's obvious the system needs to be reviewed. It seemed like it was working, and all of a sudden a big change without a lot of communication is my understanding up front around the process, and we need to better communicate what is going on there with those folks. It seems to be broken, and I'm not quite sure why it suddenly became broken in talking to people, but we've got to examine it and make some changes quickly.
This is the time for comments. With that, Councilmember Weller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trying to formulate my thoughts, but Ann brought up a really good point, and it's something that's kind of gone under the radar, and I think it's important to mention that. I, too, will also miss Mr. Urban. He was a personal friend, and I enjoyed our talks, everything from fitness to hockey to all sorts of things, and I wish him the very best in his future. Shifting gears, I want to say also, Bobby, great job. The downtown, I think I explained. I talked about last time, I've never seen a foot race downtown between, I mean, in all my years here, and seeing kids from 8 on up to, 15 racing down the sidewalks with, music in the background. I mean, it was very, very cool. And I know that you're having a huge impact, you and everybody else. And so I appreciate your work and everybody on your board. So keep up the great work. Really appreciate it. On the issue of what Kathy has brought up, I think it's important to mention that I've talked to Kathy on a number of different occasions. I've also talked to a number of other people who are facing or have faced this over last year, maybe. And this is also for, I think, candidates who are looking at running. I think I've talked to people probably almost every other day, sometimes for an hour. And navigating this is what we need to do. And I think there is so much frustration in what has happened. I don't know how it's happened. All I can do is connect to the people who can make a difference. We on the council can make a difference. And also the mayor. I think part of the challenge, I'll get to this in my real quick next comment. I've heard that Judge Hart is a little frustrated with this as well, more than a little frustrated. So we as a city need to be able to find a way to deal with this with curiosity, compassion, and kindness. And that, you're going to hear that a lot from me recently, or coming up. We need to understand how to work together moving forward, staff and citizens. And some of these things that we have passed, the council has passed, and I know I had expressed some concerns when we did move forward with this, we have also created the problem. So we're a part of that, and we can fix it. So Kathy, I appreciate what you've brought. I appreciate everybody who reached out, and it's important to know that everyone is welcome to come and give testimony before the city council. That is very important. All voices are welcome. Just because we sit on a dais up here, it doesn't make us any better. It doesn't make us any, we are just trying to do what we can to help you, to help others navigate these processes. And again, as I said, we've created them, we can help fix them. So we can do it together. So I appreciate it, Kathy. I think the last thing I'm going to say is, most recently I met with the chamber. I appreciate many of the chamber members here. And they expressed a lot of enthusiasm about Pete and the future of the chamber. And that's great. I'm so excited about it. I think also it's important to mention they expressed concerns from businesses about challenges in our city. One of the things is we don't seem to get to yes. It always seems to be a no. And I've heard that before. And I want to say I appreciate the openness and communication. I enjoy the hard things. I enjoy the hard questions, the stress, because I feel it comes, that frustration comes out of passion. And at the core of it is a way to see that we both want the same thing, a thriving, vibrant Pullman. I don't have an answer. I look to the expertise of the community, the businesses, and also our staff on how we can move forward in a more positive, collaborative way. What I can do is listen, and this is where I was telling you, with kindness, compassion, and curiosity. I believe we need to find ways to be more flexible and build bridges to navigate these challenges. And so, as a local leader, I will do my best to be more mindful, and that's kind of a, throw out there to Tremaine. We'll miss him. He taught me to be a more mindful leader, and that's what I'm going to try and do. Approach this with more mindfulness, listen more carefully, put down my defenses a little bit more. So thank you, Pete. Thank you to Mackenzie and everyone that, I had the opportunity to meet with. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Councilmember DeLira?
No comment.
Councilmember Fajarin?
No comment.
So for mayor's comments, I have two. One is there will be under new business an agenda item. It's in front of you related to a potential MOU with WSU and the Lauren McCluskey Foundation, just so that you're aware of that as we're working forward. The second thing is we've right now tentatively scheduled for Chief Bashir's in August to actually be bringing forward a recommendation related to potential changes to the rental registration program. So with that, on to City Council future agenda requests. Are there any future agenda requests for the council? Next, on to community comments on final action items for the agenda. This agenda item is the second of two opportunities during this meeting for the public to bring comment to the attention of elected officials on any agenda item that the City Council will take final action item at this meeting, excluding items where public comment is previously accepted. Final action items include confirmation appointments, consent agenda, regular agenda items. The agenda items for comments is not to exceed 30 minutes in total. Comments should be directed to the mayor or the City Council as a body. No comment should be directed to an individual council member. Is there anyone who would like to provide community comments on any final action items for the agenda? Seeing none, we'll on to presentations. And the first is a final draft presentation on the Parks Recreation Open Space Plan. And with that, Kurt Damon will lead it off as our Parks and Facilities Director. Kurt?
Thanks, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. Tonight we have Brian Trusty, Principal with Pros Consulting, with us, who will be presenting highlights of the final draft of our 2025 Parks Recreation Open Space Plan. I say draft, we're about 99% there with content and have some final editing that we'll make, and Brian can address that in his report. So a little bit of background in how we got here. So in March of 24, staff solicited proposals from qualified consultant firms with experience and expertise in putting together a Parks Recreation Open Space Plan. In June of last year, Council approved a contract with Pros Consulting for the purpose of providing a Pros plan. So over the last year, just a couple highlights of tasks that they have completed. A community engagement process that included 3 public meetings, statistically valid survey, a recreation program analysis, site and facility assessment, GIS mapping analysis, capital improvement program analysis, and a strategic action plan. And there's more to this plan that I'll let Brian address. So at this time, I'll ask Brian to give his report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you so much for having me today, and I'm proud to be in front of you presenting our final draft of the Parks Recreation Open Space Master Plan. So I have a lot of content to get through today. I'm going to try to make sure this is as complete and with brevity as possible, to also leave plenty of room for questions or discussion afterward. And of course, you will have plenty of opportunity to provide comment outside of this meeting if you have feedback for us as a planning team. One of the most important things that we wanted to do in this process was make sure that we were well aligned with Pullman's comprehensive plan. So the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan has relevance and a touch point in just about each one of the major pillars of your comprehensive plan. And we also wanted to make sure that we adhered to the core values of what it means to live, work, and play here in the city of Pullman. And so those were a lot of driving factors behind where we got to where we are with the recommendations. What are some of the desired outcomes that we were shooting for? First and foremost, as Kurt really highlighted in his introduction, this needed to be grounded in a very accessible, inclusive, and transparent community engagement process. This is not our plan. We were a partner to the community in putting this plan together. This is a plan that reflects the priorities of the people who live here, and we went through a number of ways, and I'll hit it later in the presentation with more specificity about how we did that. We also wanted to make sure we created a future strategy that's equitable to the entire community, regardless of where you live or what your abilities may be. Using a lot of best practices and data to drive our decisions. Also recognizing and looking at the park system through the lens that the park system is the city's greatest footprint of green infrastructure. And so thinking about it in that regard as well, not just as recreation space, but environmental resiliency of Pullman. There needs to be a plan that supports financial sustainability and organizational excellence, and then have that right blend of realism and ambition. It needs to be a realistic plan and one that's implementable. The process went through 3 major steps. We spent a lot of time in the beginning just really understanding where the system is today, both sites, facilities, programs, where the community is, where the communities come from, what the projections are on its growth in the next 10 or 15 years. And that really allowed us to move into kind of the ideation phase of where we're going tomorrow from a much more informed perspective. And then we focused the last phase of the project on implementation and how we get there. I'm not expecting you to read this. This is not an eye chart test. But you can see all the tasks on the left side. So it was a very broad and inclusive process, pretty complicated. And we did it over the course. We ended up doing it over the course of about 12 months just because of the time it takes to work through a lot of the process. And we are at the very end of it now. So as we mentioned, we wanted to really have this robust form of community engagement. We did this through a number of means. We had a lot of key stakeholder interviews and focus groups. I know we met with the Parks Board 3 times over the course of the project. We had 3 public meetings that were well attended in each case. We met with sports groups. We met with families. We met with the Chamber and Pullman Civic Trust on several occasions. And we were having these kind of interviews and focus groups up until the very end of the process, which is the right way to do it. We did have the public workshops and open houses. Got great feedback and questions in those process. That was very important. We did do a statistically valid survey, so that was only contained within the city, people who lived within the city limits of Pullman. And we had a social pinpoint website, which also featured an online survey. And what was very cool about the website was it had a mapping tool, so people could go onto the mapping tool and make very specific comments on very specific parks or trails throughout the city. So I like this, I don't like this, we need another trash can here. We got all sorts of comments like that. So very robust process of public engagement. And as Kurt mentioned, we do have a final draft. It has a lot of chapters. It's a little bit weighty, but we also wanted to make sure that we kept all the core information in the main document, and then we have a lot of the detail in the appendices. So what are some of the things that we learned? Well, one of the first things we did in our very first public meeting, we asked folks to participate in a process where we gave them some prompts, and through their smartphone they could share what they felt like were the most important things about this plan and what it meant for Pullman's Parks, Recreation, Open Space system. And as a word cloud exercise, the more times someone said a word, it got larger. But you can see here on the screen, and this is from a year ago, some of the things that were very important to people were accessibility and collaboration, sustainability, responsiveness, sport facilities, et cetera, and green space. We had a lot of leadership interviews. We had an opportunity to visit with you all at the very beginning of the process, almost a year ago, and other leaders around the community and stakeholders. These were the headlines of some of the things that we heard. One, your parks are very well maintained and they're clean. However, there are some amenities in these parks that are getting a little tired. They could be picnic tables, restrooms, pavilions, but it's just, and you'll see later on in the survey results how that kind of pans out in the community's priorities. But a refreshment program on a lot of our amenities would be important. Trail connectivity is super important here. This was something that we've really kind of doubled down on in this process, but this is not a trails plan. This is a parks, recreation, and open space plan. but we wanted to move the move the marker down the field a little bit on trails. We have some very specific recommendations there. Funding, both on the capital side and on the operational side, can be a challenge. And so being cognizant of that as we go into recommendations was important. And then some of the things that we heard early on, amenities that are unique, that have potential that we explored is, one, there's a need and a desire to see an indoor field house or a rec center that complements the rec center next door. Athletic sports complex that might allow entry point into sports tourism, trail connections, and even the possibility of activating the space behind the library there is more of a central park kind of thing than it is right today. I think Scout Park is right there right now. Some of the conclusions that came out of the site and facility assessments, overall, generally speaking, you need to continue with a lot of your accessibility upgrades. We're seeing this in a lot of our new parks, but as we move through a lot of the older parks, thinking about that from an amenity perspective and access. Capital renovation of the aquatic center and the Rainy Park pool was something that's important. Of course, we know there's an effort going on now with the aquatic center, so that's good that that's actually getting underway. There is a need to upgrade and expand athletic fields here in Pullman. It was surprising to us, there's not a single dedicated rectangular sports field in the city of Pullman, under the city of Pullman's inventory. The soccer teams use the backfield, city play fields, the outfields, in order to play soccer. So thinking about the city athletic field inventory is going to be important. There's need for satellite storage facilities supporting the maintenance teams, continued repair of outdoor sport courts, and then, of course, increasing lighting, paved path repairs, restrooms, and restroom upgrades across town. Looking at your programs, you have a very, very strong program portfolio. If you wonder why Megan and her team may be tired, it's because there's over 138 individual different programs and service offerings across 10 core program areas. So we did an analysis. I'm going to give you just a very high-level highlight of all these program offerings across these 10 areas. You can see those 10 areas there on the screen. And programs could be expanded with a little bit more indoor recreational space if that were ever available in the future. One of the lenses that we looked at was the different age segments that are served by your recreational programming. In this chart, P stands for primary age market, S stands for secondary, and you don't have any ones that are shared or hybrid. But what you can see here is you have great representation across all age segments. There's no age segment that's being left out, and there's a couple that even have all age programs. So this is very important. Secondly, we wanted to look at where your programs are in their life cycle. So is it a brand new program you just rolled out? Is it something that's been out for a while, or is it in a state of saturation or declining participation? I'm going to attempt to use this marker here, and hopefully it works. So this column here is how the percentage of those 138 programs are distributed. This over here is what our recommendations are. So we recommend between 50 and 60% of your portfolio be in that introductory takeoff or growth phase. You are at 59%, so you get an A++ on that. That's great. That means your recreational programming team is very creative and they're regularly rolling out new offerings. That's good. Right here in the middle, if I can get it to work again, maybe. In the middle, we recommend no more than about 40%. You're at 21% in that mature phase, so that's good. And here's where our first opportunity is to make Megan's life a little easier, and that is you have 20% of your programs that are in the saturation, decline, or cancellation phase. We recommend that this not exceed 10%. So if we're thinking about a rose bush, and you make a rose bush stronger by culling it back at times, so you can with a recreation program portfolio. So if we were thinking about maybe quality over quantity in our service offerings, bringing that 138 down a little bit, these programs in this phase would be a great starting point. We also wanted to look at how your programs were classified. We usually use a 3-tier system. Programs that are essential services are those that are most closely linked to your public mandate as a public service. These are the must-do programs. The important programs are also mission aligned, but these are programs that are really should do, and it's more of a blend of a broad community benefit and then benefit enjoyed by the individual participating in them. And value-added services are those that are nice to haves. These are programs that it's almost exclusively an individual benefit by participating in it, very little broad community benefit. What you see on the table on the top right, this is how your programs are fall across this. This graphic on the far left is actually helpful when you think about pricing programs and targeted cost recovery. And generally, programs that are essential services are those that are free or very low cost. So you have very low, not very aggressive cost recovery goals there. But as you move up to value added, you might get a little bit more aggressive on pricing in order to have cost recovery. So you have 16% of your services are in the essential category, 50 in important, and 34 in value added. Our recommendation is also looking at maybe rebalancing the essential and value added services a little bit so that they're more even with each other. From a pricing strategy perspective, you have a broad use of varied pricing strategies. Most diverse use of strategies is in aquatics, enrichment and general recreation, preschool, wellness, and youth programs. So this is, and you notice also on the far right, cost recovery is a very consistently used strategy to determine pricing of programs, which is also very good. As a result of the recommendations for paring down the recreation portfolio a little bit, we provided some thoughts around an annual evaluation process that maybe we should go through. Okay, now shifting to things that we heard on the project website. We launched the project website on July 30th of last year. You can see we had over 1,100 total visits to the website. Over 234 people took the online survey, and 178 folks participated in the interactive mapping activity, so this was a very useful tool. I know the folks in the room that are associated with the farmers market are going to love this slide. So this is the results from the statistically valid survey. So we needed a total of 375 responses to hit our statistical window. We got 381, which was great. And here are some of the headlines. Your parks and facilities are very heavily used, with the most being Sunnyside Park, Rainey Park, and Krugel Park. Parks and facilities with the highest condition ratings with Mary's Park. Of course, that's a fairly new park. Lawson's Gardens and Sunnyside. 85% of respondents reported to have participated in 2 or more, and sometimes as many as 6 city programs and events within the last year. That's an amazing amount of participation. We rarely see that, so that's great. And we also we looked at the top 3 facility and amenities and programs that are desired with the most indicated unmet need, and look at that, farmers market was #1. We had a lot of conversations about that. We also realized that there was a big farmers market in Moscow that was potentially competition. It was wonderful to hear tonight that there's a partnership that's there that's brilliant, and it's not surprising to me that it was the farmers market was very well attended. Multi-use paved trails, multi-use unpaved trails rounded out the top 3 on facilities, and on programming, adult fitness and wellness, public music, arts and theater, and recreational swim were the top 3. So there are 3 questions in the survey. One is, do I have a need, do I or any member of my household have a need for this facility or for this program? 2, to what degree are my needs being met, and how would I prioritize these facilities or programs? Our partners at ETC Institute who do the survey, they cross-tabulate all 3 of those questions together to create what they call a priority investment rating. And so this is how that panned out on the facilities side. So as we mentioned, farmers market, multi-use paved trail, large community parks, and the Pullman Aquatic and Fitness Center rounded out the high priorities. And one thing I will highlight, we always counsel our clients, this is just a prioritization exercise. We don't look at this as a linear development or sequential development. So you may have opportunities and things, funding that show up to do, something like baseball diamonds or something down here that happens before you get to something up here, and that's okay. This is just one lens to look at as we think about new parks or refreshing old parks. This is that same exercise on programming. So on the high priorities was adult fitness and wellness, arts and culture programming, public music, arts and theater, rec swim, and lap swim rounded out that top 5. This is one of my favorite questions on the survey. So if we gave you $100, how would you allocate it across these various priorities? And so big winner down here on the lower left was renovating and improving the pool and the aquatic and fitness center, probably not a surprise to you all. Coming in number 2 was development of new walking and biking trails, followed by improvements and maintenance of existing parks and rec facilities. It's one indication that your parks are well maintained is normally improving and maintaining what we already have is number 1, and in your case it's number 3. Then, of course, behind that we had development of new indoor rec facilities, development of new programs and events, and development of new parks. This is also one of my favorite questions, and you scored very, very high here. So based on the perception of value, what action would you support regarding funding for Pullman Parks and Recreation Department? And in your case, 99% of the respondents said they were either in support of maintaining existing funding levels or increasing funding levels. 76% of respondents indicated they were supportive of increasing funding levels for Parks and Rec. And these were some of the ways we polled people that they would be interested in or supportive of funding. So impact fees was number 1, so engaging the development community and helping to get new parks created. Folks were even willing to tax themselves. A property tax levy was suggested, dedicated sales tax, general obligation bonds, and even increasing user fees. And these were the 4 actions that they would be most willing to fund. And of course, there's renovating the pool and aquatic facility right up there, number 1. Additional trails and connectivity was number 2. Improving existing trails was number 3. Adding more trees and shade to parks was number 4. Top 5 rounded out with improving existing parks in general. Now, all this data, so we had these interviews, we had public meetings, we had online surveys, statistically valid surveys. How does that all come together? So we have a prioritization model that's a weighted model, gives the greatest weight to the results out of the statistically valid survey, because that is the most broad-reaching segment, a form of public engagement. But it also involves, we sat down with staff and we asked them to grade what their priorities were, both facilities and programs, and then as a consulting team, we provided our thoughts. And this is the result of that. So this is it for on facilities, and here we have on programs. Poor esports, always at the very bottom in this case. All right, so Kurt mentioned we did some GIS mapping. One of the forms of mapping that we did was around walkability. So a number of years ago, the Trust for Public Land really established a national best practice that all communities should strive to have the majority of their residents within a 10-minute walk of a park, which generally is about a half a mile. So you do have good walkability in the park, within the community, except you do have some gaps. You see on this map, you have some gaps up here in north central area. You have some gaps over here on College Hill. You have a little bit of gaps down here in south central and southwest. And so as we think about looking at the future of parks and moving forward, these were some areas we thought might be areas of priority. So aside from a 10-minute walk, we also looked at park service coverage on a service area perspective. So we blew out a service area for a quarter-mile radius around every neighborhood park and a half-mile radius around every community park. And it shows the same thing, that you have a very well-covered community with some gaps kind of on the fringes. We did a lot of work with many stakeholders, including Pullman Civic Trust on trails. There's over 50 separate trail recommendations in the plan. We're working on some mapping still, so one of the things that's coming up is we're taking these maps and we're putting it at a quadrant level, so there's a lot more detail, but we're looking at mapping all the existing trails as well as proposed new trails in the future. Okay. Another form of analysis we did was benchmarking. We looked at 4 other communities that have similarity in some form to Pullman, either size, demographics, socioeconomics, university town. So we looked at Pocatello, Moscow, Walla Walla, and Ellensburg. And there's a few things that we want to kind of observe here. Again, just one lens is don't look at this as a report card, look at it as an informative lens as we think about recommendations. So generally, Pullman came in a little bit low on acres per 1,000 residents. So don't be alarmed by Pocatello. They went crazy with open space, and they have one park that's over 33,000 acres. But comparably, everybody else is fairly close, and we're a little bit low. But you are number 2 on trail miles per thousand, so that's very good. Normally, when I would see this as a consultant, I would say we are really low on parks. But there's something that's really unique about Pullman that I pointed out in the public meeting as well. We point this out in the plan itself that inhibits you on park growth, and that's your topography. Pullman is a town that's built on 4 hills, and a lot of the developable space that would be good parkland is already being used for residential areas, commercial, industry, schools. And so you don't have a lot of park development opportunities. So as a result, that number doesn't concern me so much. But overall, you're really strong in trails in particular. We looked at staffing and budgeting, and so generally you're a little bit low. That top table is around staffing. A little bit low on staffing per 10,000 residents, total FTEs per 10,000 residents. And you're kind of right in the middle of the road when it comes to the operational budgets. But there's a lot more detail on the benchmarking and the plan itself. So where are we going from here? We had some system-wide recommendations that we started with. Developing consistent design standards, which you're kind of well on your way to. Looking at accessibility, as I previously mentioned. Mary's Park is amazing. And in the past, accessibility compliance, the ADA was the ceiling, ADA compliance. Now ADA is almost kind of the floor as we think about inclusive playgrounds and things like that. As we talked before, a thoughtful strategy on facility and amenity replacement. It came up in the process that people desire an indoor field house or an indoor facility. This is a very expensive enterprise. So thinking about planning towards one, looking at a feasibility study, just keeping a little bit of momentum and things like that might be helpful, and funding packages and alternative sources of funding. As I mentioned, this is not a trails plan, but we do recommend that you complete a bike and pedestrian plan, and we feel like what's in this plan will heavily, heavily inform that, and it moves your marker down the road quite a bit to get started. So we did have a capital improvement plan in here. We broke our capital improvements into 3 major categories. One is the critical or sustainable projects, which are the setting our hair on fire. These are things that are broken or not working or about to break. Projects that are expanding services to the community, so new feature in a park, and then more visionary projects. We did provide low and high cost estimates on each one of these. We did this park by park, and in the appendix of the plan, you can go through that and see it gets down to new picnic tables, new light, new sign, so it's very detailed for the next 10 years. We know this is by state requirement. You'll be updating this plan in 5 years, but we did write it as a 10-year plan. Now, one thing I will note on this, so of the critical projects, we came in between $5.5 and $7.5 million. That's not bad. And this includes things that are already in your approved CIP. So, you're also getting credit for things you're already thinking about. In the expanded services, it was kind of between $4.5 and $5.5 million. That's also not bad. And the only reason why the visionary projects are so high is that because that includes a cost estimate around an indoor field house and a sports complex. We are not suggesting you go out and issue $50 million in bonds. We do believe that is probably beyond the financial capacity of the city right now, but the process itself brought these things to light, and so as a responsible consultant, we wanted to make sure it was included and it's there, and you think about the possibilities of how that could be possible in the future. One of the unique things about our firm is that we are all recovering Parks and Recreation directors. So we've all walked in Kurt or Megan's shoes. And so one of our calling cards is we also dive deeply into operations and maintenance, and we can provide some thoughtful recommendations there. So right now, your current park maintenance cost is about $9,500 an acre a year. Again, that's a little bit higher than the average, but that's because it takes a certain cost to just field a maintenance team and maintenance crews, and because you have low acreage, it makes your cost per acre look higher. We recommend that by the year 2030, you work your way towards maybe 12.6, and that would represent about a $500,000 increase from now to what it could be in 2030. And similarly on facilities, we recommend that same kind of range of thoughtful growth in supporting the maintenance costs. One, it enables greater preventative maintenance, so it helps us take care of these assets for longer. And two, this also helps keep you in pace with inflationary pressures. And then, as Kurt mentioned at the very back, I'm not going to read all this to you, we have a strategic action plan that breaks things down. The first category is around growing the system to meet community needs, where we recommend looking at the possibility of 3 to 4 new neighborhood parks over the next 5 to 10 years. Remember that we have these areas that have gaps, park gaps. So this could be some areas that you could think about. Planning towards a new multi-purpose indoor facility, planning towards a new athletic complex, possibly 3 to 4 dedicated rectangular fields, since you have none at this time. Maybe 2 to 3 additional outdoor multi-sport courts, and then standardized signage and wayfinding. A second category is around the revitalization, maintenance, and expansion of neighborhood parks, and we hit on a number of those. Third is around enhancing and upgrading your community parks. Fourth is around trails and connectivity, and as I mentioned prior, we have over 50 specific trail recommendations in the plan. And finally, around organizational and financial sustainability. So I just gave a lot of information. I hope I kept that to close to 20 minutes, and now glad to take your questions or discussion.
So thank you very much. I enjoyed working the way through the report. I mean, it's something that it's going to take a few passes to really get through and consume, but it's something that I feel what you're providing is a very good product, and
thank you.
We're excited about that.
Thank
With that, any comments or questions? Councilmember Weller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great. This is really awesome. I love the data. I did have a question. Well, first, I also want to acknowledge I appreciate you mentioning the bikeability, walkability plan, because that's something that several community members have been asking us about for many, many, many years. And I know due to capacity, due to other things, we haven't really been able to put that at the top, but I know that's something that RJ and everybody is looking at. I did have a question about the demographic breakdown of the respondents.
Survey?
Yeah.
Great question. So, and that's why we go with ETC Institute, that we've partnered with them. We're a 30-year-old firm. We've partnered with them for the last 28 years. They are the best in the business when it comes to doing community-based surveys like this. And one of the reasons why is that they monitor respondents' demographics and socioeconomic identifiers as responses are coming in, and they make sure that it overlays with that same proportionality of the community as a whole. So if they are not seeing responses that they need from certain segments of the community based on how the community is actually, the demographic profile, then they'll actually start oversampling a little bit in that demographic to make sure that no segment of the community is either underrepresented or overrepresented. So if you look at the demographics, we didn't include the survey report itself is another 200 pages. We didn't include that in the appendix. But we do have that, Kurt and them do have that, and in the back there's a lot of information about the demographics of respondents.
Okay, great. And that, actually, I think you answered my question. I was wondering how much outreach went out to WSU students, and you're saying it's general, like
we had some a little bit of participation in from WSU students. We did have better yet. We had more representation of residents of College Hill that may also be non-students. It is not uncommon in a process like this. I mean, we just finished Pocatello, and that's where Idaho State University of Idaho, it's not uncommon. We don't get a lot of participation from students themselves, but wherever we can also engage the university and faculty and staff, we do. We did have some faculty and staff from the university that came to a couple of the public meetings.
Okay, last question. Now, you had mentioned in one of them acknowledgement of unofficial trails. Do you see problems? Because we've already heard and had a big meeting about acknowledging those trails creates issues with legal, and I mean, if we're acknowledging them, So
not every, it's not uncommon in a community to have you have your official trails and then you have networks of social trails that just kind of develop over time. There are some of those trail recommendations we do recommend considering taking this informal trail and making it an official trail. But we do have a caveat there, that it is, in some cases, it's going to require coordination with a private landowner or a business. So this is not a slam dunk just because we recommend you look into it. But we did acknowledge not every informal trail, but the ones that came to light in the process that may be deserving of a thoughtful look.
awesome, thanks.
You bet.
Councilmember Delira?
Thank you so much for your work. I thought it was a very informative report. The appendix is very detailed, and it was really interesting to go through all of the parks and facilities and see a range of long-term projects proposed and even more detailed, like fix this thing.
Yeah.
That's just kind of been a nuisance. So my interest is around the gap within the northeast side of Pullman. So when looking at the park service and walkability, where non-city owned public spaces like Magpie Forest considered in terms of servicing that area?
We did not look at all city properties. We did, or private properties when it came to park walkability. We just looked at the inventory of city parks. So McGee Park up there in the northeast quadrant, McGee Park's just about it. But that's also a region of the community because of the presence of WSU up there. There are recreational areas and spaces in that part of town, but they are almost, targeting the student body.
And then I guess I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know that Magpie Forest is owned by WSU. Do you have any experience on any university-city partnerships when it comes to parks and recreation?
Yes, it is not an easy nut to crack. Universities are great, but they also, because they're in a lot of cases, they're a state entity. They kind of think, well, we got our own stuff taken care of. We don't really want to partner. But recently, and you may think about this on the possibility of an indoor field house, I just completed a Parks and Recreation master plan for Norman, Oklahoma, which is home of OSU. And they just finished the Trey Young Family Athletic Center, which is a partnership between City Parks and Rec, OSU, who went in on the natatorium side of it, and the local healthcare network, who put in an occupational therapy clinic that they actually operate in the field house. So that's a really unique thing, is you have a university, healthcare system, and the municipality that are all participating in one facility.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. And Kurt, if you can kind of give a wrap-up as it relates to, for those who would like to provide comment on this draft.
Great. Thanks, Mayor. As we mentioned earlier, we do have some final edits we need to make to the document, and then we will have a 2-week public comment period that'll be off of our website, and we'll push information out on how people can access that. Then as a team, we'll vet those comments and information that comes back to us and make necessary changes, take it to our Parks and Rec Commission for their approval and adoption, hopefully sometime in August, and then back to City Council either late August or early September for final adoption. So with that, also, since this is Brian's last visit to Pullman, I just want to special thanks to him, his assistant, Dalton Dixon, for their leadership and professionalism throughout this whole process and guiding us along the way. So very much been a pleasure working with you, and thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Great. Next up, we have our annual 4th of July fireworks and fire report. And with that, Darren Jones, our fire marshal from Pullman Fire.
Thank you, Mayor. The annual Independence Day celebration at Sunnyside Park and professional fireworks display by Pyro Spectaculars North was a huge success this year. The Pullman Fire Department, Pullman Police Department, Public Works, and Parks created an incident action plan for the 4th of July. This included emergency procedures and public safety and protection prior to the day of the event. The planning process for this event began weeks earlier. We met with the Chamber of Commerce, and many hours of planning went into this incident action plan. Parks, Public Works, Transit, they were all instrumental in creating a safe environment for our guests. The weeks of planning, bus routes, parks, logistics, and traffic control plans don't go unrecognized. We had emergency medical services, fire, and police on scene at the event from 4 p.m. till well after the event ended, near midnight. Pullman Police had 7 police officers working the event at the park. Pullman Fire Department had 2 chief officers, myself, the fire marshal, the deputy fire marshal, and 7 firefighters staffing the event. We also staffed a chief officer at Whitcomb 911 to better direct our resources responding to incidents that night. You may have seen our ladder truck with the ladder extended 85 feet into the air, proudly displaying the American flag. We also had our brush truck, ambulance, fire prevention vehicles, command vehicles on site. The command vehicles were used to control the vehicular access to the park to protect our guests as part of the incident action plan. Pullman Fire personnel enjoyed engaging and connecting with thousands of community members. We provided fire safety education through a fun and close-up hands-on experience with our trucks, tools, and of course the kids' spray house. We also conducted several safety inspections before, during, and after the event, including the fireworks display setup. A big thank you to Whitman County Fire District 12 for providing additional fire protection at Sunnyside Park for the fireworks display and strategically positioning their trucks throughout the city on the 4th. Whitman County Fire District 12 staffed park vehicles with several trucks. They played an essential part of the fireworks show by thoroughly wetting the area where the large fallout area is and the launch site, and responding to any fires in the park and the surrounding area. The City of Pullman allowed the sales of consumer fireworks from July 1st through July 4th. This year, there was only 1 permitted fireworks vendor, as I had mentioned at an earlier meeting. That was TNT Fireworks, and they were located in Walmart. In July of 2022, the use or discharge of fireworks was prohibited by any individual person in all city parks and city-owned facilities and grounds. So this helped limit the areas that have potential ignition sources. Additionally, the Pullman School District and Washington State University prohibit the discharge on their properties. The consumer or personal fireworks are allowed to be discharged on July 3rd and July 4th. Pullman fire personnel proactively patrolled the city on July 4th. I'm pleased to report there were no injuries from fireworks in Pullman from July 1st through July 4th. There were 2 reported fires on July 4th. One was at the public display at a neighboring property on the backside of the park. There was a small fire extinguished by the residents. And the second was a small grass fire at an apartment complex on the Northwest Hill. There were no structures, vehicles, or large property damage as a result of the fireworks. Pullman Police Department were busy. They responded to 14 fireworks complaints between midnight on July 1st and 8 a.m. on July 5th. Whitcomb 911 received 343 calls from 8 a.m. on July 4th to 3 a.m. on July 5th. 58 of these calls were transferred out to other jurisdictions. Many of the fireworks-related calls that were received by Whitcomb were non-emergency calls. We need to do a better job on educating the public on when to call 911 when it's essential for the safety of first responders and the public. Pullman Fire Department has used social media, internet, print media, and other means to share fireworks tips and safety and provide information on our local fireworks regulations and rules. In conclusion, Pullman Fire extends a thank you to everyone who helped make the celebration in Sunnyside Park a huge success.
So with that, any questions for our fire marshal? Councilmember Weller?
comment, and I wanted to tell you that the information shared was really helpful. I haven't fired off anything for a long time, and decided for some reason to get some fireworks, and being able to understand what to do, where to do it, how to safely do it, it helped quite a bit. And so I wanted to thank you for that. I'd also like to share a quote from the TNT Fireworks family up there at Walmart. The Pullman fire inspector was the best inspector we have ever dealt with in our travels for the 4th of July. So I want to thank you. I want to thank the rest of, Pullman Fire. And, right there, they said they've dealt with Walla Walla and everybody else, and Pullman firefighters were the best. So thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no others, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is a consent agenda. The items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion of City Council without separate discussion. So I'd first entertain a motion to read the consent agenda by title only.
Second.
That, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 If you could read the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is a motion to dispense with the reading the meeting minutes of June 10, 2025, and approve them as submitted. Item 2, a motion to dispense with reading the meeting minutes of June 17, 2025, and approve them as submitted. Item 3, a motion to approve the transfer of sales tax revenue to CIP Reserve Fund for 2025 Q1 in the amount of $327,687. Item 4, a motion to approve disbursements for accounts payable checks number 2011-30992 through 2011-31216, totaling $1,703,316.17. Item 5, a motion to approve disbursements for electronic transfers number 325 through 339, 343 through 352, 356 through 358, 360, 91371, 91378, and 91383 through 91386, totaling $2,655,976.20. Item 6, resolution number R-28-25, a resolution authorizing the mayor and the Finance and Administrative Services Director to execute an updated project prospectus for the citywide pedestrian crossing improvements project. And finally, number 7, resolution number R-29-25, a resolution authorizing the acceptance and execution of a grant agreement with the State of Washington Office of the Secretary of State, Archives and Records Management Division for the Local Records Grant Program and other matters related thereto.
Do any council members desire to have any items removed from the consent agenda to be discussed separately? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
With that, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Next item up then is the regular agenda. And with that, we have ordinance number 25-12. And with that, Jeff Albrecht, the interim city administrator.
Good evening, Council. Before you is Ordinance 2512. This is ordinance modifying the City Code 495030, which relates specifically to the lodging tax revenues. Currently, the ordinance reads that a maximum of 25% of lodging tax revenues be associated with tourism, a maximum of 50% with special events, and a maximum of 25% with grants events. what we've seen is change, and really in 2024, council actually did a temporary amendment to this to change those proportions to be in compliance or in agreement with what we have currently with our tourism contract, as well as then looking forward to the tourism contract that is on the agenda tonight. And really what those percentages work out to is 50% related to the tourism contract, 25% to the special events, and 25% to the grant events. So this would be basically changing that from the 25% tourism, 50% special events, which is special events is primarily 4th of July and Lentil Festival, to 50% tourism and 25% of those events. So consistent with what was done in '24, consistent with what we're looking at in '25, and consistent with what it's looking at going forward. The other thing that it does do is the language in there was fairly vague on the percentages. It said average, and it didn't say average for what period of time. So the additional recommendation for change is to define that average as the previous 3 years. So with that, I'd answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Jeff? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the ordinance 25-12.
Move to approve ordinance number 25-12.
Is there a second?
Second.
With that, if you could read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance number 25-12, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pullman, Whitman County, Washington, relating to Title IV of the Pullman City Code, amending Pullman City Code Section 4.95.030 and Pullman City Ordinance Number 22-6, 2022, establishing criteria for the evaluation of proposed uses of lodging tax revenue and other matters properly related thereto.
With that, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes. Next up, Jeff, continuing on.
Yeah, next item before you is in response to the RFP that the city put out for tourism and special event services. So in early May, the city put out an RFP to solicit a partner to provide these services for a minimum of a 3-year period. Questions were due from potential respondents by May 28th. We received inquiries from 2 different entities asking for more information. The RFP closed on June 24th, and we received 1 response from the Pullman Chamber of Commerce. That response was taken to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for review. 4 of the 6 members did score that. 2 members had a conflict as they have a direct connection with the respondent. So their scoring sheets are not included. And because of that, LTAC did not make a formal recommendation as far as accepting or not accepting the RFP. But were very positive comments, and you can see from the scoring sheets from the individuals was quite supportive of the respondent, as well as staff also reviewed that, and staff comments were in favor of the respondent. So based on that, this is a recommendation for a motion to select the Pullman Chamber of Commerce as the successful respondent to the RFP.
Any questions of Jeff on this? I'd entertain a motion for selecting Pullman Chamber of Commerce for the tourism promotion, marketing, and events coordination.
So moved.
For the city of Pullman.
Second.
That, any discussion? Eric, I see your hand is up, so what, is that discussion?
Yeah, am I
Okay.
coming in okay? Yes. Am I coming in okay?
Too soft.
Having trouble
Too
hearing
soft?
you.
I'll speak up. How about now?
It's difficult to
All
hear
good then,
you.
never mind. We can move on.
Why don't you start?
Go ahead.
Eric, do you have any comments?
I apologize. How am I now?
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Sorry for that. I get to be the voice in the sky today, which is always fun. I just want to thank the Pullman Chamber staff. I'm really excited about the next chapter of leadership that will come to the Chamber and to the story of Pullman. Last week, I had the pleasure of meeting with both Pete and Tim, and we talked about some really exciting ideas like offering a red carpet experience for new businesses, recruiting medium to large business partners, and bottom line, really the importance of everyone working together to ensure Pullman succeeds. This contract is not going to be a amount to that solves all our problems. It's really going to require us working with the chamber, the people of Pullman, and all of the stakeholders. So I'm confident in Pete's ability to see the bigger picture and to bring new ideas and opportunities for collaboration, and I'm excited to vote yes for this contract to the Pullman Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Councilmember
I
Parks?
just want to echo what Councilmember Fajarin said. I'm really excited about the new executive director, and he has lived here for a very long time, raised his family here. He and his wife really are, they love this community. His wife is from a neighboring community as well, and so just couldn't be more thrilled to have this new outlook. I really enjoyed what you said at the chamber lunch today about your new visioning exercise that you're going to share with the community, and I just think it just feels like a good fit and a nice new start. So I'm excited to vote yes as well.
Councilmember Guido?
I serve on the LTAC, and yes, want to echo that. I'm too very excited about new leadership, and just want to shout out to Alexis Foreign, who had a lot to do with that, putting the proposal together, and had a lot to do in terms of leading those efforts that gave us confidence in terms of the Chamber's abilities. So with that, we're looking forward to working with you.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Well, I'll jump on this love train. I think that the Chamber has done an amazing job regardless. And, you know, I was very excited about the Visit Pullman from Alexis. That was awesome, even beforehand. Of course, you know, having Pete on there, great. I think the Chamber has always done a really good job and, you know, has put Pullman first. And so I'm really excited, even more excited after meeting with some of those members. And I think we have a great future collaboration and look forward to the future. So thank you.
With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? It passes. And congratulations. It's great to continue this great partnership. With that, Jeff, if you can talk about kind of the next steps in this process for people.
Yeah, so from here, what happens is we'll work with the chamber to come up with an actual contract for services. So this provides the framework, and then that will then be turned into a contract that will be brought back for approval at some point at a future meeting for the council. So.
Great. On to item number 3, Resolution R3025.
Yeah, Resolution R3025 is an execution of an interlocal agreement between the City of Pullman and the Pullman School District. So Pullman School District and City of Pullman had a very long-standing interlocal agreement. The current one dates from the inception of the Aquatic Center. So that's almost 25 years ago, and there was even some before that that really talks about use of shared spaces and that. That was, notice was provided a year ago by the school district to terminate that, and the date would be August 31st is when they would terminate, and of course a lot of that was dictated by the Aquatic Center and the changes going on there. What we realized on a couple things is, one, there was a lot of other facilities that were in that agreement. The Aquatic Center was the most predominant, but there was a lot of playfield spaces, gymnasium spaces, different things like that that are covered in that agreement. So we needed to produce an agreement for the continued shared use of that. Additionally, we're probably looking at a period of time before the school district finalizes their sale agreement. And so they will continue to own that facility, most likely beyond September 1st. We don't know exactly how long. We don't anticipate it being very long. So in order to cover that interim period in the aquatic center before the sale is completed, as well as cover those other facilities until we can come up with a long-term use agreement. We worked with the school district to do a short-term agreement that just runs from the period of September 1st through December 31st with very similar terms to what had been done previously. So before you is a resolution to go ahead and allow us to execute that agreement for that period of time, knowing that we'll be coming back probably sometime in the fall to talk about a longer-term agreement on those facilities outside of the aquatic center.
So with that, any questions? I'd entertain a motion for passing the resolution.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second. Thad, if you could read the resolution, please.
Thank you. Resolution number R-30-25, a resolution authorizing the execution of an interlocal agreement between the City of Pullman and Pullman School District number 267 for the purpose of sharing certain property.
With that, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. And what that means is, so this takes us with the shared use spaces through December 31st, so we'll be coming back with another contract related to this for those shared spaces after that. It covers through the sale of the aquatic center this year, which means we'll be coming back with an agreement with SCL going forward with that. So you'll be seeing those things coming forward related to this. It's exciting to see this moving forward. Jeff, thank you for your work. Kurt and Megan, for your work in this process. It's been a long year, and I thank you very much for your time and all the staff time that's been involved in this. And Thad, you've been also instrumental too in this, so thank you. Next up is discussion items. The first is goal and priorities work groups. As a part of the City Council's 2024-2025 goals, the City Council established 6 work groups based on long-term priority areas. These work groups, you're meeting not with a quorum, so you really can't discuss everything that you've been doing on the work groups, so this is your opportunity to inform the rest of the council of the work that you've been doing in that way. And so within the work groups, we have the bypass, and some may have nothing additional to report since the last time we talked about this. Others may have things to report. So with the bypass, Councilmember Weller Parks and Councilmember Wright is on that, and I'm not sure. I see an arrow pointing to Councilmember Parks. If there's any updates that you would like to provide to the council.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't locate my notes, but I believe, and Councilmember Weller will help me, that so the county has, and the port have done that, the survey, and they've just released the results of that. And I think our intention is to work with them going forward to see what the city's part would be, and just sort of wait to see what the outcome of that is, what is decided or be a.
Yeah, I think one of the good things about these work groups, and I was initially not the biggest fan of them, but is looking at, when we're looking at some of the goals that the community has sent to us and that they're interested in, is researching where our power lies and where our collaboration needs to really expand. And I think one of the biggest things that we found with the bypass is there's a whole lot of players, and also I would say with the railways, there's a whole lot of players that we were able to bring to the table, and Right now, especially with the expertise of our staff, that's really taking the forefront. And we can start the discussion, and I appreciate, Mayor Benjamin has really started putting together these work groups, and so I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. It's really looking at how can we respond to what we've received from the community as far as these are the things that are really important. The bypass is extremely important to get the heavy traffic out of downtown, the semis out of downtown, and we've been working on it for a long time. I know this has been a discussion for over a decade, and this is the first real, I feel, solid step that has been taken because of the work groups and because of the collaboration that's happened from other entities. So other than that, that's what I can share. So.
Okay. Next up, housing, and I'll let you start.
Sure. So the work of the pro-housing group is continues. We took a little hiatus over the summer. We'll reconvene here in July, I do believe. And essentially, we continue to do the work of developing goals, realistic goals and measurable goals, SMART goals, if you will, around how to create more opportunities for people to afford housing in Pullman, and the supply of housing, realizing that there are some things that are somewhat out of our control, but trying to set some actual realistic numbers based on a percentage of expected growth in our population. So with me going off the council at the end of this year, I have approached fellow council member Eric Vigerin to see if he could head up the effort going forward to continue the good work of the team, because we're making some good progress and hope to be able to bring back those goals and strategies to the council at the end of this year.
And also on that committee is Councilmember Vigerin and Delira. Do either of you have any additional comments? So, Councilmember Vigerin?
No additional comments other than I'm proud of the work that we've done so far, especially to each team member that's on that work group. I feel we're pretty well-rounded, but one thing we are missing is probably somebody from more the developer side. So to be part of that group would be good. But other than that, I'm honored to continue the work that that work group has been doing.
Great. The next work group is the repurpose of in-town railways. And with that, Councilmember Weller, Parks, and Vigerin.
I guess I'll step on it this time. Okay. So I think it just bears reiterating what I was explaining before, is that being able to explore these groups, what is important to our community and the citizens, especially with repurposing the in-town railways, there's a lot of potential there, but being able to talk with our legislators, our representatives, and explain how important it is, illustrate that. It's really a visioning, and it's going to, I have great faith, great hope that this is going to come through, but right now it's going to take their buy-in, our continuing work, and the expertise of the staff. And I think right now that's just kind of, it's pushing the ball along, so.
Councilmember Parks?
Yeah, thank you. I would agree. I think the biggest challenge is talking to the folks in Olympia and trying, like as Councilmember Weller said, trying to get them on board and help us move the needle on this project, because we really, it is very complicated, and it isn't something that just we or the city staff can can dictate. It involves railroad properties and their envisioning of, you know, maybe they can always decide to reuse the rail beds. So there's an uncertainty there, but our largest challenge is the legislators, and we don't typically get very far with them. So we're going to keep trying and thinking of ways to maybe bring them here and show them, take them to the spaces we're looking at and give them the ideas that we might have for them or what that would look like. So with the staff's help, of course. So that's where that process stands currently.
Councilmember Fajarin, do you have anything on that?
Nothing to add.
Okay. I do have one thing to add. The last week of June, currently there is a legislative proviso that's looking at rail use and what's long-term rail use, especially in light of the potential with dam removal, but they're looking at what's the long-term rail use. That proviso, the Department of Transportation needs to provide a report to the legislature December of 2026 related to it. They had an open house related to where they're at in the process. The end of June, Sean Wells was able to attend the one in Pullman. I was able to attend the one that was in Pasco during that time. Had great conversations with them. There is right now a potential that there could be a line through Pullman that they would like to activate that has to do with if they want to put a line that actually runs down through Genesee on down to Lewiston. It's currently not in their proposal, but it's one of those that has the potential of being there in their proposal. And in discussing with staff, they were feeling that probably by November of this year, November, December this year, they felt that they'd be able to actually know whether that's a consideration or not. So the nice thing about it is going into next year's legislative session, you know, what I talked with Department of Transportation is it'd be really helpful to have, if they're able to say, no, this isn't a consideration, that would help us as we move forward with our legislators. So that is something that we hopefully will have some answers on related to the end of this year. Councilmember Delera?
I just have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So in terms of the line for consideration from Pasco to Genesee, is that for the purpose of commuting, or like commuter train line, or is it more
that
like
is
freight?
just for freight.
Gotcha.
This is freight only. And at this time, it would be the one that runs north-south through Pullman. It would not be the one that goes to Colfax, that's in consideration. Next up, strategic influence and partnerships. That's the one that myself and the city administrator is tasked with. What we've been doing is monitoring open state committees that are possibilities, and have actually fed some committee opportunities to council members and then also to staff in that way as a way to increase. This has to do with our strategic influence and partnerships. I've also been working with the port and the county as in a way for us to potentially come together at a federal level and jointly work on something. So rather than us by ourselves, but have a stronger voice if we have things that are in alignment that all three of us are on. Related to that, and then I definitely want to continue to, you know, encourage the city council as you see opportunities within AWC. Those committees are great ones to be able to get involved with, and they'll help leverage you that way. That was the update that I had related to that one. Next, the Welcome Committee that myself, Councilmember Gaither and Delera, and with Councilmember Delera, let you go to start.
In terms of the group, we've been kind of in a hiatus also, but we'll be meeting on the 14th to discuss the next projects that we have. But I think Francis has been working on something exciting, which is the community dinner. Do you want to
Yeah.
kind of elaborate on that?
One of the things that as a part of this, that welcoming piece is we're working on what's called a community table, and it's where we would actually close out part of the roads downtown. It wouldn't be Main Street, but it'd be side ones just because of traffic control, and put out a long table that everybody can come together and have dinner at. And so it'd be, bring your dinner, come to the table, and have dinner with the whole community. And so we're working on that. It would be something that probably would be end of August into September time frame. So we want to include it as a time when the students are also back, to be able, as a way for the students to also come down and mingle with the community. So that's something that in the next couple of weeks you should be hearing more about. We're pretty excited about it. Anything else that you had on that? Then the last one, strategic tourism. Councilmember Gaither, Guido, and Wright. So, Megan, do you have any updates?
That one, I know that we are going to be meeting soon, and it has been a bit of a hiatus that we've had. But leader, Councilmember Wright, I know can provide continuing leadership on that. And yeah, that's the best I can do at this point.
Okay. Any questions just overall with any of them? So, Councilmember Jalera?
Yeah, I want to make a comment on the bypass group. So I'm part of the RTPO, and I was able to look into the Whitman County Freight Study, and one of the suggestions that I'm hoping that the group pursues, or all of us as a council, is to take a look into the short-term projects that they propose based off of the 3 routes that scored the highest. They didn't explicitly say that they recommended these routes because they have to be very careful, but it looks like Bishop, San Kirkendall, and Albion routes are good candidates, or elements of those routes are good candidates, and the report was really detailed on what projects we can pursue, smaller ones like fixing the bridge on, I think, Main or Bishop, to longer term projects. And they also provided a ballpark price tag on how much those cost. So I guess the vision I'm hoping to see is seeing some of those smaller projects make it into the next iteration of the CIP or the TIP. So, yeah.
And our Public Works Director is on the TAC committee, the technical committee for that group. And so I'm looking for a head nod, not that you have to come up to the mic, but that's, you're aware of this project, and you're looking at how does that fit into the city plans and future CIP projects. So yes. And it's good, we're just communicating all the way around on this. Any other discussion on any other work groups? Okay. If not, the next discussion item relates to fireworks usage. And with that, Jeff Albrecht, I'll start with you, the interim city administrator.
Yeah, so I know a while ago it was brought up as a future discussion item to talk about fireworks usage in the city. So probably not a better time than do it right after the 4th of July. So what's provided for information is the current city code is available there as an attachment within your board information. And with that, I certainly provide any clarifying questions or just turn it over for discussion.
And with that, Councilmember Weller, you'd requested this, so to turn it over to you first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jeff. And I know previously I brought this up because, well, I mean, being in Ward 2, we hear quite a bit about fireworks. And usually you have the random fireworks that happen from individuals. So, I mean, of course, we know that, it's illegal outside of the defined terms, defined dates. My big concern and what I've heard from my constituents, and this has been since I don't know, I think my first email was somewhere around 2014, 2015. I sent it to Thad and, our fire chief, mayor, so on and so forth. WSU has been using fireworks at baseball games. And this was, there's been some back and forth about whether this is allowed, whether this is not allowed. And it seems like it's an ongoing rotation of happening. And now, most recently, fireworks are beginning to be used at football games. And some of the people in other areas, Ward 1, Ward 3, so on, may not always hear it. But in Ward 2, whether it's the makeup of the hills, whatever, it echoes amongst all of the houses. And it is, I usually say challenge, because I like to see things as being able to be dealt with as, in a positive way. This is a problem. And I don't say that lightly. This has been a problem for almost 11 years. And most recently, when Chancellor Soleil was at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, I asked him, kind of put him in the hot seat, hey, look, this is I said, this is a problem. Is there a way that we can work together so that we can solve this? What he told me was that he had never heard that this was an issue, and that fireworks have been shown to be very good for universities and other cities and bring in money for those sporting events. However, the community health is foremost of my concern. And the economics of WSU is secondary for me. When it's waking children up in their bed, I heard this from a mother of 7 who, is about 500 yards from the baseball field, or it's traumatizing for people with PTSD or pets or all sorts of things. Fireworks we can plan on. It's happening here to here. All right? Take your pets, go and go camping, give them medication, Okay, but this happens sometimes without notice, or maybe it's going out in notice at WSU. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to be calm about this, but this is something that's really, really problematic. So I'd like to find a way that we can either communicate better with WSU. We need to find a better way forward. I don't want to go into another year. I've sent countless emails. So I'm off of my soapbox. I'm done with my tirade. Those are my comments. I don't think we can continue doing this, especially for Ward 2. So.
Any other comments or discussion? So you have the city code before you that specifically in the code states that it is permitted for WSU to do fireworks. To change that would require the city council to make a change of city code. Councilmember Parks?
I was just going to say, it is an ongoing issue with our residents, even at the planned times of residential fireworks over the 4th of July and New Year's Eve. This year seemed better, but I think a lot more people were probably out of town because of the long weekend. However, we found 3 casings on our driveway and 1 up on our roof. and we were not home for much of the day. So it doesn't, it doesn't really concern me personally, but I do know that a lot of people really suffer truly with the residential fireworks. But I don't really know if there's a negotiated agreement that can be, that we can come to, or I'm just kind of reiterating what you're saying about, there are many people who it really disturbs. And I guess I would also say we don't know what percentage that is of our entire population, but I think it's important that at least they be heard.
Others, I don't want to make sure everybody else has an opportunity. Seeing none. Councilmember Weller?
I just wanted to make sure to clarify. I'm less about the individual fireworks during the fireworks time and more about WSU's, fireworks, which if you are within a mile, it shakes windows. I'm a mile from there. And so, I feel we need this to change. I really do. And I've heard from citizens, and this needs to change.
So right now, this is just a discussion item. Any other discussion on this? Councilmember DeLera?
I'm wondering if it's possible to get some overview on other cities or towns that have universities that might do the same thing and how they limit firework usage or regulate it to some extent. I don't know if that's something we could maybe task staff to do.
Dan, I'll let you go and start on this.
I think from what I'm hearing, it's an issue of just changing the code and not allowing fireworks outside of the July 4th and New Year's Eve period.
So currently, there's kind of three sections that relate to commercial fireworks. There's, the 4th of July, then there's one that allows for WSU, and then there actually is a third that does allow anyone to do commercial fireworks, but that does require a specific coming to city council specifically for that permit. So the commercial permits around the holidays and the commercial permits around WSU do not require city council approval specifically because they're allowed in code. Any other permit would require, so if somebody wanted to do it for the grand opening of their business, I don't know, that is allowable, but only by coming specifically to council. So just to kind of clarify it, that's how it works on the commercial permits now.
Councilmember Weller?
Thank you for that clarification. And I would say removing both the university and commercial use. I think the challenge that we run into, and I've heard this from others, is that, the fireworks for New Year's Eve, fireworks for 4th of July, of course. I just did some. So, but the challenge I think we run into is that when it goes off for WSU, when WSU lights them off, and I don't remember any commercial outfit lighting them off, that sends a message it's okay. Not saying it is, but I'm saying when WSU starts lighting off fireworks, there is a marked increase of fireworks around that time. I don't want to get into, is it connected, is it not connected? There's going to be arguments either way. Correlation does not mean causation. However, there is an increase. And if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If somebody's doing it, well, why not me also? I've got some left over from last fireworks season. So I would encourage us to take a route of New Year's Eve celebrations, 4th of July ceremonies, awesome. Otherwise, no.
So I'm hearing from two, I mean, we can't pass anything tonight. So a process would be, if this is a draft would be put together, it would be brought back to the council for review, and then it would come back at a further meeting for approval. I'm assuming that with any change to the fireworks code can't go into effect for 365 days. I know there's a delay that's required by state law, but I'm not sure if it applies to this or not.
I can't answer that question right off the top of my head, unfortunately, but
Okay.
we can look into that.
So that's one other aspect, that it's just the way the RCW is written for it. But I'm hearing two council members. I'd like to hear from more that says yes, they'd want to go into this discussion even to bring this back. Because if I only have two, that's not going to be a majority that's going to be saying yes, they want to see this coming back in order to even start down this road of this discussion. And and that also includes the impact that it's going to have. I mean, obviously we'll hear from WSU. We're going to hear from community members, that those that enjoy it, those that don't enjoy it, in the midst of this. Councilmember Delera?
So I'm wondering, could we have another discussion item so that we have more time to maybe reach out to the stakeholders like WSU before we commit to writing a resolution or an ordinance amendment?
Related to that, would you want to wait until the students are back so that you have a chance to reach out to all of your constituents?
I personally would like to, but I'm open to also opening it up to doing it sooner, but I would like to hear what everyone else.
I'm just, that.
You could I mean, a public hearing is another option. I mean, there's nothing, I don't know that there's a requirement for a public hearing, but it is an option for the council to have a public hearing and see what the community, who shows up and what they have to say about it.
Councilmember Delera?
Yeah, I think having a public hearing would be a good way to open this discussion up for other people to pitch in as well.
So I would assume we would need to vote for a public hearing or do we just need two in order to put it on the agenda as a public? I'm asking this as the legal side.
I think two, because it's an agenda item.
Okay. So I'm seeing that, so we will work to schedule a public hearing around this item, and we'll want to schedule it far enough in advance to be able to provide opportunity for people to be able to know about it ahead of time, to message it ahead of time for people to come.
Point of clarification then, would it be only about the Washington State University use of fireworks, or would it be looking at all use of fireworks, this public hearing? What are we feeling there?
You're going to get everybody.
As I understand it, the specific issue is basically striking the language in the code that says WSU sanctioned events. Leaving everything else, or any other, just striking anything other than 4th of July and New Year's Eve.
Okay. So that's how we would write it for the public hearing.
So we could probably do up a draft with it redlined for just a draft. That way the public knows what.
So it'd be a
is
public
being-
hearing, and then we'd come back at a future meeting after the public hearing to actually then debate it. Councilmember Weller?
Just a comment. I'm fine to have, public comment about it as well. I just want to reiterate, this was not something that was done prior to about 2015. So there were no issues with ticket sales when I was going to WSU. And there was no issues with, economics with that. Explosions in the air is not going to end up creating a sudden wealth of $1 million coming to WSU. So
We need to be, that's not what we're debating, so, and you better be very careful with that one, because there's economics behind that, which I'm sure someone could show it, whether it's accurate or not.
Well, I
Sorry.
make the comment anyway.
Did Councilmember Fajarin?
No, I just want to say thank you for the discussion. Thank you, Thad, for bringing up the opportunity for a public hearing. I would be supportive of that option, at least having the zoning code around fireworks in front of folks with it redlined out so they can see what the zoning code change would be. I would be supportive of having a hearing around that.
Okay. And then I'll direct staff in order to work on preparing that for a future meeting. And with that, under new business, we do have a new item that came up, and with that, I'll have Chief Braceras come up and talk about the opportunity with a external memorandum of understanding with Washington State University, Lauren McCluskey Foundation, and many others. With that, Chief.
Good evening. What I'm going to be talking about is a memorandum of understanding between the City of Pullman Police Department and Washington State University. And I'll read through this so I can give you the details. The Lauren McCluskey Foundation is a nonprofit victim service organization located in Pullman, Washington, and Whitman County, and further serves the greater United States. The LMF is dedicated to transforming campus cultures across the nation by promoting awareness, research, and resources to respond more effectively to relationship violence and stalking. Honoring the life and spirit of Lauren McCluskey, Lauren McCluskey was a 2015 Pullman High School graduate and athlete. She was murdered in Utah in 2018 by a man she had previously dated. Washington State University, the Lauren McCluskey Foundation, the Whitman County Prosecutor's Office, the Pullman Police Department, and other stakeholders have agreed to come together to collaborate on a grant application for the Office of Violence Against Women for the fiscal year of 2025 grants to reduce domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking on campus program. Part of the requirements of this grant include collaboration with local municipal law enforcement agencies. The Pullman Police Department has been invited to participate as an external partner. In order to be an external partner, the Pullman Police Department needs to agree to, in the form of a memorandum of understanding, to three key elements: to endorse the goals of the grant and participate in coordinated efforts to improve responses to incidents involving domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking; participate in a trauma-informed training for officers and leadership contingent upon staffing levels, training time, and resource availability; designate a representative to participate in monthly CCR, Coordinated Community Response Team meetings. I strongly endorse our participation in this partnership. We are already doing much to combat violence in our community, and these three items further reinforce our commitment to that end and support our mission. The mission of the Pullman Police Department is to provide professional police services that prioritize public safety, quality of life, and the rights of all. This MOU was brought before the council today in a slightly different fashion than we normally would because of some grant deadlines. There is a grant deadline later in this week, and which is why we wanted to move quickly to make sure that we didn't miss out on this opportunity. I look at this from the standpoint of what we can do for our community is a very, very good thing. Domestic violence, stalking, all of those things are unfortunately things that happen in Pullman. A homicide that happened recently in Pullman was the result of domestic violence and stalking. Jamie was raped, strangled to death by her estranged ex-husband. Would this have prevented that? Maybe not. Would it have provided a resource for Jamie in order to recognize the potential risk factors that were coming to a crescendo and save her life? I don't know. But I think that it's a responsible thing for us to do as a community and as a police department to do what we can to help prevent this type of a incident from reoccurring and to help the members of our community that need that help. With that, if you have any questions.
With that, any questions of the chief? Councilmember Parks?
Thank you so much. As you know, but for the community's sake, I want to say I work at Alternatives to Violence in the administration office, and so I help the people who help the people. And this is such a good thing. First of all, we already have a wonderful, wonderful partnership with the Pullman Police Department. They do a lot to help to help people, to bring people to us who are in need, and to work cooperatively with Alternatives to Violence in helping current clients of ours, and we're very grateful for that. I agree that this will definitely bring more awareness into the public eye. Chief Bashir's mentioned that these are situations in our community, and until I worked at Alternatives to Violence, I had no idea how prevalent it is. It's very prevalent. We are very busy, unfortunately, but fortunately that we can help someone. And when Jamie was killed, we looked to see in our database if she had ever been a client, and she hadn't. And that broke our hearts because we could have helped her. We could have helped make her safe and possibly not have that happen. And there are a lot of victims out there who can never become survivors because they're either afraid to contact us or they don't know how, and it's heartbreaking. So with all of these entities coming together and making this very public effort to help advance services for survivors and education and prevention education, I think this will really help empower more victims to come forward and get help. So I appreciate your presentation very much. Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, I entertain a motion for approval of this external memorandum of understanding.
Move to approve the external memorandum of understanding.
Second.
That, do we need to read anything specific with it? Okay. With that, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Sorry. Any opposed? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this forward. At this time, the City Council will adjourn to executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30-1101I to discuss with legal counsel representing the city matters related to agency enforcement action or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency potential litigation concerning litigation that has been specifically threatened, to which the agency, the governing body, or member acting in official capacity is or is likely to become a party to litigation that the agency reasonably believes may be commenced by or against the agency, the governing body, or member acting in official capacity, or 3, litigation or legal risk of a proposed action or current practice that the agency has identified when public discussion of litigation or legal risk are likely to result in adverse legal or financial consequences to the agency. The executive session is expected to last 5 minutes. If it becomes necessary to extend the executive session, someone will return to announce the anticipated time needed by the City Council. The council does not anticipate taking action following the executive session. It's 7:38. We'll go ahead and start at 7:41. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move second
I have a motion and a second for adjournment. And with that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.